welcome again for today's webinar, which is the last mile to ESEF 2021 things to watch out for. A very interesting webinar that we have brought in today. So my name is Shraddha and I'm working as an XBRL expert and customer success head for the European region. I'll be walking you through the last mile of ESEF 2021. What are the things that we need to definitely watch out for from the compliance perspective? So let's get started. I think the ESEF filing is still going on, right? And we are facing many things in the ESEF compliance process. In many countries, the filing has already been completed, but few countries are still struggling with the compliance part. How the process should be, how the auditing should be, how the review should be, everything is not that systematically arranged. So here we have come up with a small exercise or a small topics that can guide you on the compliance of the ESEF reporting. 6 simple steps that can make your ESEF compliance very simple. The first step that I would like to focus more is on the XHTML output that we have to submit to the regulator should really match and should be similar as per the PDF report. That's the first simple step. The second step is the review part, wherein we need to verify the review of the iXBRL document is very well done. It complies with the latest regulations, the latest guidelines that has been given by ESMA. The third important factor that we thought of having a key eye on is on the ESEF zip file naming convention. This is very important because some regulators has been taking an effort to have the naming convention a bit different from the rest of the countries. So this is very important and need to watch out for which particular country you need to comply and what is the file naming convention followed in that particular region. The fourth step is on the validation part, a very crucial part where everybody gets a bit stuck. How are the type of validations that we need to focus? What are the errors? What are the warnings? What we need to comply? All these things are taking a bit kind of stress at the issuers level as well as the auditors level. So what are the things that we need to really look for and what are the tips that we need to see it at the time of validation process? The fifth is on the ESEF audit. Again, an important thing. What are the auditors' role is to on the ESEF reporting? How are the auditors going to perform the audit on the digital reporting way? And what are the process involved from the auditor side? And the last but not the least is the sixth step, which is nothing but the test filing with the regulator, which is very important for every issuer to do a test filing before the actual filing of their ESEF 2021. Now, these are the 6 things that I'm going to deep dive and explain you what are the tricks and tips that we would like to focus here. As your 2021 report is going to get mandated, so nobody is going to get escape from this. Every issuer has to comply in this part. So what are the things that we need to really look for and need to comply from going onwards? So let's get started. The first important factor is the XHTML output should exactly mirror image your PDF report that is given. As till now, we were able to submit only the PDF report. So it was the same pretty looking document, the designer document that we need to just submit to the regulator. But going forward, it is going to be a change, a paradigm shift wherein you need to comply and set up the entire document in a digital way and make sure the layout, the structure, the images are as similar as per your PDF report. How are we going to do that? The software vendors should take extra precaution, to make sure that everything is in line as per the PDF report. If that is not the case, it is not your actual iXBRL document. So this is what we need to take care. And this is the example where you can see it is not at all matching as per your PDF report. The next picture, if you see here, is the same PDF pretty looking document with a picture and a textual information. Whereas as compared to the XHTML output, it also resembles the same picture and the text information. So wherein this is how if the software tools are able to convert as per the PDF report, then nothing like that. So your PDF submission and the ESEF submission will be exactly same. So what are the tips that I would like to focus here more on? First is the PDF report that every issuer would be sending to the software vendors should be in a searchable format, which means you can easily search the content within the PDF report so that it gets easily tagged and converted into XHTML. If the PDF report contains in image format, it becomes very tedious for a software agency to convert the file in an XHTML. The second important thing is that there should not be any external references or links attached or embedded in the PDF report or the annual report. And of course, the size of the XHTML output should not exceed 100 MB. So these are the few tips that you would like to focus more on while comparing your PDF report to an XHTML report. The second step is on the review tagging, a very important step. Now, as you have uploaded the PDF report, the next important thing is the performance of the tagging part. So as many software tools have the ability to tag the information on the PDF report, and they can share with the issuers to verify the details. As you can see in the given example, that you can see on the left hand side is the disclosure reported, and on the right hand side you can see the attributes of a given disclosure, wherein for a single line item you need to verify whether the tag or the XBRL concept has been applied properly, the unit is defined properly, the scale has been set properly, the date for which the value is reported is defined properly, and the fact value for which the value is for which it is reported is as per the PDF report. So these are things a vendor or an issuer needs to verify in their iXBRL document. The four attributes are very, very important from the review angle. The first check was on the value of numbers. The second important step in the review process is the check on the company taxonomy. Again, a very important thing. As we know from the ESEF side of it, every issuer need to have a company taxonomy for their iXBRL, which means they should have exactly same disclosures that are reported in the PDF report, and they should prepare each and every link basis, or you can say a presentation, calculation, definition for those all link bases. As you can see on the screen, the company taxonomy will involve a presentation link base, which means that the structure, image, the structuring, the labeling, the ordering of the concepts should exactly mirror image your annual report. The calculation link base mentions that if there is any submission relationship within the particular financial statement, that needs to be reported. Then we have a definition link base, which means if there is any dimension relationship, we need to define in the definition link base. So this is generally seen in the example of statement of changes in equity, wherein they have their classification structure for different classes of equities. And all those different classes of equities are defined as dimensions. So all these dimensional relationships we need to define in the definition link base. And of course, there are certain concepts which are not available in your ESEF taxonomy. For that, the issuer has to define is the custom concepts, which are known as extensions for each and every financial statement. And all those custom concepts should be linked to an ESEF concept by way of wider or a way of narrow anchoring. So these anchoring relationship also needs to be verified when you are verifying the company taxonomy. A bit complex, but very easy to remember and to verify when you are looking for the company taxonomy structure. Also, very important thing is that company taxonomy will not only include the 5 primary statements, but it will also include the mandatory tags. As given by ESMA, there are 10 concepts that needs to be reported. But out of that 10, one concept is only required to be reported. If the issuer is not reporting, it will be defined as an error. But for the rest of the 9 concepts, if the information is available within the annual report, then only the concept is required to be reported. So these few things you need to really look for when you are reviewing the company taxonomy. Then we go on to the next topic is on the ESEF filing naming convention. a very, very important topic, and very carefully it should be interpreted. Now the guideline says whenever you are modeling or whenever the software tools are generating a zip package, it should be in a specific format. The naming style should be in a specific format. And how the naming style should be for the consolidated and standalone reporting, that has already been defined in the ESEF guideline. So if you take an example in this given slide, the naming convention of a particular file should start with the LEI number, which is nothing but the legal identity number, followed by the financial year for which the ESEF report is prepared, and it should be followed by the language code for that particular reporting in which the annual report is prepared. So all these things taking into consideration, the naming convention should be LEI number, followed by your date, followed by the language code of that particular report. If anybody is not in conforming this particular required scenario, then the filing will get rejected when they actually do the submission at the regulatory level. So this thing is very, very important to really look for in the ESEF creation part. This is related to only the EU regions, wherein all the 23 countries should take care of this zip package and how it should be named. Now, as per the guideline, the naming convention is also differ country by country. In UK, there is a specific guideline which talks about naming convention in a bit different way, wherein it also says that the naming convention should have the LEI number, it should have the date of the reporting, but it also should have a one unique code, which is nothing but whether the package contains a single file or a multiple file. If the package contains a single file, then it should be named as -T01. So this is a uniqueness which is defined by the UK regulatory authorities. And that's how all the filings that get submitted in the UK region, they need to comply with this set of requirement. So this thing we need to be very, very careful what type of issuer it is, where they are going to submit the actual filing, to which regulator. That is very, very important to know for an end user to work upon. So this was the third topic on the ESEF file naming convention. The few tips that I would like to suggest here is that whenever you're creating a particular zip package, it includes 3 main folders, which includes the report, the meta info folder, and the company folder. All these information should be error-free. It should not have any unencrypted files, and it should not have any password protected files. The characters that we use within these files naming convention should not have any special characters, and the length of the file should not exceed 128 characters. Also, there should not be frames or iframes that are allowed in the ESEF reports. We have many times seen that these kinds of technical errors gets highlighted when we actually file the zip package with the regulator, and we are nowhere able to understand what type of error it is and what we are supposed to do that. So these technical validation we should really look for and make sure the software vendors take additional care and have these set of requirements already implemented at their site. The also technical validity on iXBRL report says that the file size should not exceed 100 MB, and the deliverables that contains in the zip package should always have the naming convention as .zip, .html, .xhtml. And of course, there should not be any external references or links attached in any of the PDF files. So these are the few tips that I would like to suggest when we actually look for the file naming convention and the files that are within the zip package. Now the fourth step or the fourth point that is very, very important is on the validation part. So you have compared the report, you have made sure the review has been done, you have made sure the file naming convention is already clear. The next step is to verify the validation results in the iXBRL reporting. So validation results can be n number of types. When we receive the information from the regulator side that these are the failed results, can you just look for it? We get stressed. What are we supposed to do? How are we going to, make the necessary changes? So by this kind of understanding the different types of validation will make our life easy, and we will be able to understand what are the things that we need to really take care. So different types of validations includes a calculation inconsistency check, duplicates check, whether you have the rounding up errors, or you have a reporting error, or you have inconsistencies, duplicates reported within the annual report. If you have any mandatory missing out elements that needs to be corrected, or are there any external references that are defined in the document that needs to be corrected as well. And all these validation errors are already been defined in the ESEF reporting manual, which every software tool should consider and integrate in their reporting, so that there are error-free filings going forward for all their issuers. So these are the few things that every other issuer as well as the auditor should really look for when they're actually reviewing the iXBRL document. Then comes the next part is of the auditors. What are the auditors supposed to do on the ESEF documents? As they've already audited the PDF report, so are they going to audit the ESEF reports as well? The answer is yes. In EU region, audit of ESEF document is mandatory, whereas in UK, it is not yet mandated. So when we talk about the EU region side, what are the auditors' role here? What are they going to do? How are they going to organize the things at their end? And what are the best ways to organize and work on the ESEF documents? So the best way for an auditor to work is planning the entire ESEF process. How they should plan the ESEF process, what are the things that they want to review? They need to chalk out the plan, and they need to understand or set the requirements well in advance with the client, understanding the ESEF regulations as well as the internal controls. Also, it all depends upon which file format that you're going to audit. Is it going to be the iXBRL or XHTML? So the process of auditing will depend on that as well. Then the auditors also need to verify is the in-depth accuracy of the tagging as well as the company taxonomy that has been prepared. They should also make sure that the compliance report on ESEF is being defined. And of course, all the engagement aspects, like what are the engagement letter, the documentation, when the report will go out to the issuer, all these things should be taken care of well in advance. So what we suggest here is that they should coordinate with the end client and organize a team effort, and they can do their audit much early on the dry run of their reports. So like if you're working now on the 2021 report, it is suggested the auditors do a dry run exercise of the audit on their previous year reporting, which is the 2020 reporting. Because of which it becomes very easy for the auditors to understand what will be the process and what are the things that they need to consider when the actual filing will come into place. So these are the few things that I would like to highlight here. And what are the job or what is the responsibility of the auditor here? Are the auditors required to understand all the technical availability or all the technical things in the ESEF reporting? Not at all. They are auditors. They are not expertise, or they don't have the expertise to understand the technical things in the ESEF reporting. So auditors' main task is to base an opinion on the financial statements, which will include the tagging, the review of company taxonomy, which will have the presentation, calculation, extensions, anchoring. All these things the auditors will review. They will not be involved, or it is not expected that the auditor should also go through and check the formatting or the overlapping of textual content, or if there are any font size issues within the document of iXBRL. So this is not really that the auditors will look for in the ESEF report. As well as auditors are also required not only to audit the iXBRL part of the documents, but also the standalone reportings, which are without tagging. So what is the main thing that auditors would like to focus here more is on that if they can complete the audit process well in time, and they can share the audit report on the ESEF part before the actual publication date, it will be very helpful for the issuers to integrate and run a last minute check on the report. So these are the things I would really emphasize and look for if the auditors can integrate in their going process. So as an auditor, it is very important to make an opinion whether it is qualified, unqualified, with a disclaimer on the ESEF reporting as well. It may differ from the PDF reporting report, but it is very, very important for auditors to base an opinion on the ESEF reporting. The last thing is on the test filing with the regulator. Again, I mentioned, once the dry run of your filing is already done on the 2020 report, it is recommended that every issuer tries and does a test filing at the regulatory level. At every regulator side, there is a testing environment which is open, where they can test the filings well in time and make sure there are no blockages at the time of submission. So we generally recommend that if they can, take out time and do a test filing 1 week in advance ahead the date of publication, or 2 or 3 days before the date of publication. That is what we recommend. It would really, really help, at the time of actual submission if the company has already done a testing file. So these are the few things that I would really would like everybody to watch out for in the last minute of ESEF filings. Now, the next thing that I would like to focus, apart from the ESEF, is the initiative that we have brought in as an IRIS company. So in the pandemic phase, we came up with an initiative which is IRIS Care, which was specifically focusing on the ESEF package for small companies in the EU region. So this particular initiative was launched in the pandemic phase, wherein we have given all the small companies to go ahead with us as a free offer for 1 year, which contains a IRIS Care package. And what it is, it covers a free creation of your iXBRL document. For how long? It is just for 1 year. So what we will be doing is that we will convert your iXBRL document for the first year full of free of charge. And which are the companies for which we will be creating this particular kind of package is for the companies with a small cap, wherein their market cap is less than 100 million euros as of 1st June 2021. So if those companies are willing to go ahead with the ESEF submission, they can come join with us. We can do their creation of iXBRL free of cost for the first year, and later on they can decide whether they want to continue or they can move out as well. So here there are no hidden conditions, there are no hidden costs. It is just that we care. That's why we are offering here. And why we are offering here? Because as and when the mandate is going to get mandated, not only for the listed companies, but also for the small entities, we would like them to take an early initiative and understand the digital reporting way of reporting their annual report and making sure that they comply going forward in a much smoother and quick way. So when we talk about this package, if you are going to stay with us, we can offer, or you can come up and sign up with us for 4,000 GBP per year, or as well you can choose an outsource option at 6,000 GBP per year. As well, if you don't want to continue with us, you can just move away and we can stay in touch as and when required. So this is a small initiative that we have brought in since the pandemic phase, as well as it still continues now as well. Still the pandemic is not yet over, so we would like to open up our hands and take kind of this initiative and experience the closeness of each other by this particular ESEF reporting. So I think with this I end my presentation, and if you have any questions, please drop in the Q&A segment so that I can take up and answer your questions. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to drop in the Q&A segment. And then we can just wait for another minute. if anybody has any questions. I think we have one question. I think the question is how much time it will take for tagging the entire annual report. So I think the process of tagging for the first year, it includes 5 primary statements. So 5 primary statements, we take around 2 to 3 working days to do the entire setup, so that we will make sure that all the compliance has been done from the ESEF side, and will deliver you in the next 2 to 3 days time. I said 3 days, 2 to 3 working days. That's what I said. I think somebody heard as weeks. So I said 2 to 3 working days to set up the 5 primary statements and convert the XBRL, complete iXBRL output. I think we have one more question. It says that how much time it will take to tag the entire full annual report, which means the block tagging, the notes to accounts as well, right? So I think it depends upon the amount of notes that have been included in the annual report. Sometimes few companies have 10 notes, few companies have 30 notes. So it all depends on the level of tagging and the and the detail of the tagging that gets involved. But I think that also should be get completed between like 4 to 5 working days time that we can do the entire conversion. I hope I answered your question, Suzanne. Any other questions, anybody? How would you propose a company that efficiently reviews the tag on the full AR? I think the company, once the mandatory or once the note to tagging is already there in the platform, right? So probably the review part will be much easier because we need to train the companies as well how to review. And I think the review part is what we need to specifically focus more on, how they need to review the entire document in the iXBRL format. So it will include a detailed training, how you need to review the documents, what are things that need to take special care of, from where the disclosure has been picked for tagging. So the detailed training will be given for all the companies who will be signing up with us. We still have time. Some more questions? I think in UK it is not yet mandatory for the auditors to review the ESEF documents for this particular year, but I think maybe from going the next year onwards there will be a mandate where every auditor in UK region had also need to review the ESEF or the UKSEF reporting. So that is also one thing that they can look for as well. Okay, I think if there are no more questions, then probably we can close the webinar. And of course, you can reach out to us at, I'll just share my screen so that you can take down our email addresses and you can just contact us and we'll be available to help you as well. So you can just write to us on iriscarbon@.com, and we can get in touch and we can resolve your queries as and when we receive it. So I think till then, thank you and see you soon for the next webinar.